Hey everyone, this is Jen and you're watching BPD Woman. On today's episode, you are going to find out why people hate on those with BPD. You're going to find out which two prominent groups hate on those with BPD. You're going to figure out why they do it. You're going to learn how you can combat it. And more importantly, you are going to learn how to identify it so you don't go down a rabbit hole of self-hate yourself. If you haven't done already, please like, share, subscribe, and let's get going. Again, my name's Jen. You're watching BPD Woman. I was diagnosed about 20 years ago with BPD, and since then I've committed myself both to in-person, online, bibliographical therapy, about 6 rounds of DBT. I'm highly committed, and this channel is for those of you with BPD, CPTSD, or who are highly sensitive that need help regulating your emotions. This is a positive, solution-based approach to recovery. And if you're a family member or friend or just someone else who's interested in these positive-based solutions or learning more about BPD, there's a playlist for you. Check it out. Entitled Resources for the Family. Today's video, I want to talk about why those with BPD get so much hate. I want to talk about why that's okay. I'm going to talk about how that affects your recovery, and we're going to talk about why people gotta hate. So let's go. I am sure you have been a victim of online bullying or in-person bullying or the subject of gossip, or you have definitely, if not directly, indirectly, been made fun of because of your BPD diagnosis. You've probably heard how difficult it is to treat you in therapy. You've probably heard how those with BPD can never recover. You've probably heard things like BPD are so scary, better get away from them. You've probably heard that some murderers have had BPD. The list goes on and on and on and on. And in a earlier video that I did that I'll put up a link for called Resources for BPD, I recommended the resources that you should consider while heading down your positive recovery path. And then I also listed ones to stay away from that are unreliable or judgmental, or just simply are denigrating and dehumanizing to people with BPD. And obviously a lot of those are sites like Quora or Reddit or any online forum where somebody can leave a comment. And I highly recommend checking out that video because there's so many different venues and opportunities and wormholes to go down where you can learn about BPD. And unlike when I was diagnosed, the internet was obviously there, but it wasn't this huge machine that it is now. And so really, if you wanted to learn about BPD, you had to go actually buy the books, and you don't have to do that now. And unfortunately, now anybody with a Wi-Fi connection can deem themselves a expert, and we just know that's simply not true, right? So, so recently on my channel, I was the target. I'm not a victim. I was the target of some online bullying, and let me pull up the screenshot of what this person said. So I had done a BPD short video about setbacks are normal, keep going. It was a very positive video, very short, 5 minutes. And someone wrote something to the effect of, you seem like an angry, they didn't identify themselves because they're a bully. So they had to come up with a very creative moniker named Google. And they wrote, you seem like the aggressive, angry, manipulative type, but that you're trying to change your ways. And I really don't delete comments, and I left this one up. And so I wrote back, and you seem like a very judgmental, hateful, woman-hating kind of person. And none of these things I take personally. Most things that people say about others really have more to do with themselves. And then I said, thanks for watching the channel. So is it passive aggressive and angry and manipulative to leave a comment like that and not actually, use your real name or try kindness? I think that's more aggressive and bullying than anything that I've done, at least in that video. So I have definitely been both the subject of indirect and direct bullying or abuse or just misinformation about BPD, and it gets really old. But if you're just starting out in your recovery, things that you hear like this can be really devastating, and they can really, tamper down your efforts to try to get well. And that's not what we want, right? We don't want that. And it can be very hard to tune that out. And so again, I recommend going to that video about resources for BPD, because it really will help you find the positive support network that you need, because there's definitely a lot more of negative voices out there than positive ones, and they can be easily drowned out. So now I'm going to talk about amateurs and why they do this kind of bullying, but also, more interestingly, I'm going to talk about doctors and people with letters and credentials alongside their name that also bully people with BPD and denigrate. And that's really incredible. And it's sad, especially when you look up to doctors as a source of hope. It's like, if a doctor thinks I'm doomed, maybe I'm doomed, right? So what does this hate do? Like, why is this important that you watch this video and understand these things? Well, it can make you feel really hopeless, isolated. It can make you believe, you swallow that poison. I mean, I'll admit, it bothered me momentarily, for a few hours that day that person wrote that about me. But you know what? I like who I am. Am I angry? Yeah, sometimes. Am I manipulative? No. Can I be aggressive? Well, I think for man, we call that being savvy and smart and getting what they want. So yeah, okay, I'm good with that too. It doesn't bother me. I get shit done, right? And so, I don't know very many women that get shit done and they're like, she is really kind and genteel. No, they don't want that. So it can also lead to further emotional problems, and also, worse, it can make you give up on your therapy. If you feel like, if you're being told that it's hopeless, why would you try to continue getting better? So let's talk about those two groups of BPD haters. Let's go. So the first group, amateurs. Anybody with a keyboard, anybody with an axe to grind. You'll normally find these people commenting on psychologytoday.com articles. You might find them commenting on Reddit or Quora. You may go for a search engine like BPD, anger management, and like all of this negative shit will come up. So why do they do it? Why do they do it? Well, let's not pretend that those with BPD don't hurt people. Of course, we've said things, we've blocked people, we've hurt people, we've burned bridges. I know, I have, right? You may have stolen from people, you may have cheated on people, they may be so angry with you that they never want to see your face ever again. I get it. And that's to be healed in a positive way. Whether that's they don't want to speak to you and so you acknowledge that boundary and you don't try to reach out to them, or perhaps that's because you go seek therapy for your anger, or you learn along the way, or you forgive yourself. Those are ways to heal that hurt that's come between two people. And let's not get it twisted. You don't need to have a personality disorder to cheat on someone or be mean to them or hurt them or lie to them. This isn't just about BPD. This is about being human, right? And so people may put out these stories, or they may be sharing these like, my girlfriend did this, or you can't trust them, or I read this post on Facebook, because they're venting and they're upset. One of the reasons that I got off Facebook altogether is because I would say things and then regret them later, right? And I did that so many times. I was like, look, this is not healthy. This is spinning me up. This isn't cool. People are like the Twitterati or the wokerati, all of these folks, have an agenda, and it's not about letting the other person be heard. And so a lot of the times you're going to find that a lot of this is coming out of unhealed hurt or venting, right? Two, another reason that you may find these negative things on the internet is because they may be masking what they contributed to the relationship. I've done another video entitled The BPD NPD Connection. And in this video, I talk a lot about how those with BPD hook up with emotional vampires who take advantage of the wanting to be needed that those with BPD have, or the, I'll do for you, I'll do everything. You get codependents, codependent men, they'll latch onto this. You'll get narcissistic men, you'll get men with abuse problems or substance abuse issues. So a lot of times the deflection will sometimes come out and like, she did this, he did this, it's all their fault, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is one of the number one indicators you can tell somebody's lying about what happened in a relationship, because they're just simply not willing to accept what they did, their part in that relationship. So that's another way, 3, people like to use those with BPD or other personality disorders as a scapegoat. It's easy to put on a label. Oh, they're crazy, to be dismissive, right? Oh yeah, they don't need to be messed with them. Oh yeah, this. And it's like, okay, well, if I told you that the following people had BPD, would you feel the same way? Princess Diana, Amy Winehouse, Marilyn Monroe, Angelina Jolie. These are people that have a lot of, Angelina Jolie, huge humanitarian, Princess Diana, beloved around the world. I mean, would you use them as a scapegoat? No, you really look up to them, right? So those are the amateurs. Let's talk about the pros and how the pros hate on those with BPD. I'm going to focus on 2 very prominent doctors that have not only been published in books, but they also have podcasts, YouTube channels, and they're very prominent, and they're both male. Neither of these are Dr. Daniel Fox, who I recommend, but I'm not going to name these people by name, but the examples I want you to really listen to. Professionals that denigrate any group of people in a mental health field, and they're supposed to be doctors and helpers of those with mental health, are disgraceful. They're disgraceful, they're unethical, they're harmful, and how they still are able to practice is beyond me. It's really terrifying. There is one very prominent author who's been around for a long time, who's capitalized on the works of codependency, and he's written some books. And he wrote a book that talked just about codependence and how narcissists were to be avoided, and narcissists would expose codependence, etc. And then he upgraded the book, I guess for more sales. He upgraded the book then to include, years later, borderlines as well. So basically, borderlines and narcissists are the most terrible people. Don't get involved with them. There's no hope. And some of the things that he has said, especially in some of his online work, I mean, I have seen people reply to, like, I have had these disorders and I am doing well, and like really being very strong and using sensible language to combat him, and he doesn't reply. And I'm glad. This is the tip I'm going to give you later, like how to speak up for yourself when you see this kind of thing. And some of his threads, they're just downright, and I'm not going to give specific examples, but when you see language that's judgmental, heated, when you hear words like always, stay away from, never better, that's a real red flag. And the worst of it is, he's not a personality disorder specialist. I don't even know what he specializes in, this guy, but it's not personality disorders. So just like you wouldn't go to the eye doctor because your elbow hurts, right? The eye doctor can espouse all sorts of hypotheses about why your elbow hurts, but the truth is, they don't know shit about your elbow because they're an eye doctor, okay? So some people just suddenly have the floor, and they're like, oh, well, let me talk about this, and let me talk about that, and then all this bullshit's like running out of their mouth, right? So if someone's not disciplined in BPD or another personality disorder, excuse me, it's very hard for me to give them any kind of credit, because I could probably talk to them a lot more about what BPD is than they might know. Even in some of his articles, he'll say things like, this article is in no way meant to denigrate these people. That's what he said. Denigrate these people. You just did. And I feel like any article that you would have to say, I denigrate these people, it's sort of like the, listen, I don't mean to be rude, but statements, right? And like the following phrase that comes out of their mouth is going to be something that's very rude. And then his list of codependent traits of the people he really feels sorry for, if you run down them, they sound exactly like criteria for BPD. And there is a huge overlap between codependency and BPD. There just is, right? Codependents usually link up with narcissists. Borderlines usually link up with narcissists. Lots of empathy, poor boundaries, not, wanting to people please. The fears of abandonment. Am I naming BPD traits or codependency traits? Right? So how can you be so thoughtful and sensitive to those with codependency, and then people with the same traits, you just trash them? Okay? Not helpful. Not helpful. There's another doctor that diagnoses celebrities and makes these comments on people he's never met or never treated. That shit really blows my mind. I have been on plenty of, self-help YouTube videos, and I will start hearing them saying, I have been a victim of borderline abuse, and I have done this and this and this, and borderline suck and this, and I'll write back, I'll tell you the things in the next segment about what I say. These things are really disturbing. And why do they do it? Well, the only thing that I can really think, again, is it comes down to ego and even feeding their own narcissism. Why perpetuate hate speech? How can you call yourself a doctor and see these negative, terrible things? And by the way, this is a rather, I would say, within the medical community, I don't hear this a lot. I just hear it from two very prominent people with a big platform. I think they're feeding in to the amateurs or other people that want to, find some confirmation bias in those amateur story that those with BPD suck and they'll kill you and all this other bullshit, these lies, just blah, 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 blah. So it inflates their ego, it gets them more views, it gets them selling, and then I think they even believe some of it. It inflates their pocketbook and their online presence, right? But what I can tell you is that it's incredibly damaging, and I'm far enough along now in my recovery after being diagnosed for over 20 years now to stand up to that stuff. But when I got started, I couldn't. And so what can you do if you're in a bit of a fragile state or a lower state? Or what can you do when you're just starting out? Here are my tips. Let's go. So one of the first things that you can do is to keep up with your therapy. Again, I mentioned that these types of online trolls, this misinformation can really start to put a dent in your self-esteem and your ability to think, I can recover. And if you're already feeling really overwhelmed by that prospect, being told by doctors or amateurs or having this flood of info come at you, it is probably gonna really make you question how committed you want to be to your therapy. So you're gonna tune out that bad stuff and you're gonna focus in on the good stuff, your therapy. Again, find resources that are reliable, professional. I want you to look for people that aren't using inflammatory language. I want you to look for people that aren't judging. I want you to look for people that aren't telling one-sided stories, okay? 3, I want you to challenge these statements, just like I challenged my little YouTube critic, right? Really? Well, I think that you sound like this. Or, really? What are you basing that off of? You know, I've been on, like I said, I've watched some YouTube channels where there's been like something really nasty that comes out about somebody, or they start denigrating somebody with BPD, and I'll be like, what exactly are your credentials? Oh, you're a life coach. I'm pretty sure I can get a life coach degree online. Oh, okay, so pretty much you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And, you know I don't say that, obviously, but I will say something like, really, what are your credentials in the ability to talk about this? Don't stay silent. And fourth, get out information out there that's positive, you know, like me. Like, you know, I started this channel because I was feeling isolated during the pandemic. I wanted to be able to speak to people about what was going on with me, about this disorder, how you can help yourself, turn it into something positive. You can do that too. You have a phone, go for it. Start something, get an online discussion, right? Be a pirate of, you know, anti-bullying abuse, and watch those other two videos, both the BPD NPD connection and the resources from BPD. Borderline personality disorder, out of all of the dozen or so personality disorders that exist in the ABC cluster, so BPD is the most recoverable. It is the most treatable. Did you hear me? That's right. You have the best personality disorder. If you're going to have one, this is the one to have, because there's the most resources, most studies, and most information done about it. Anybody who tells you otherwise can sit and spin. I know. Not very nice, Jennifer. Two shits. Okay, so my name's Jen. You've been watching BPD Woman. Please like, share, comment below. Give me your comments. I always look forward to reading them. And until I see you next time in everything you do, please be effective.